So, welcome everyone to this beautiful chat we're going to have here with this gorgeous heart lady, my gorgeous friend and beautiful soul sister, Janine Savient. Welcome, Janine, to another intimate conversation.
Thank you, Mandy. It's so lovely to be back here. Feels like it's years since I've been on this platform with you, so thank you.
Oh, I was so excited. I honestly couldn't wait for this to happen. So it'll be a juicy little convo, I'm sure, as usual.
Yes.
And just for 1 second, I'll just introduce you to anyone who doesn't know who you are, because I know you have a huge platform already. But for those who don't know you, Janine is an intuitive, a visionary, seer, a channel for universal wisdom, a teacher of heart-centered self-awareness, a writer, and a speaker facilitator. Janine calls herself messenger of love, and she sure is. So Janine has had a knowing of life as a multi-layered reality since the tiniest child, and says it feels like she was born wide awake. Janine's promise to you is that your life will not be the same once you awaken to yourself on a deeper level. To realize that you are pure, light, divine love, experiencing itself within a physical form, takes this life experience to a whole new way, more expanded level. To experience to a whole new, way more expanded level. I'll read that correctly. And that's so correct. The greatest and most beautiful guide in this universe is love. And Janine has a deep, innate relationship with love. You can too, and she will show you how this is not only possible, but is the truth of who you are. And that is absolutely beautiful, Janine, because if there's anything that you say in there that is absolute truth, which is all of it, but you are certainly a heart-spaced, beautiful, heart-loving lady. So, you know, and I know, you know, I've been in a workshop that you facilitated, and the space itself was held in such love. You could feel it. It was thick and tangible. So beautiful, beautiful. So you saying in here too, Janine, that I'll just close that up now, wide awake when you were young, and that's sort of where I like to start, is to just explain what that meant for you when you were a child and how that worked. Like, did people understand you? Do you think your parents understood you, etc.?
Absolutely not. Not my family, not any single person in the entire area that I lived. I lived in an area of about 5,000 people, and no, I was completely alone in my knowing of life until I was 19 years old. So, I was used to being pushed against. I was used to being ridiculed, you know, but what that did was that built up the deep resolve in me to stand in my truth. So there's been nothing since then that's ever been able to push me even slightly out of that deep innate truth of who I know myself to be, which is absolutely no different from any one of us here. It's just that I came in with that knowing because, you know, I'm kind of on a mission here, and you know, to awaken fully to myself and to be the example and support others to do exactly the same thing.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it was a big childhood. The fact that my greatest adversary would have been my father, a very Kiwi bloke, a real hunter-gatherer, looked after his family through protecting us and feeding us and putting a roof over our head, but didn't demonstrate love in any deep, tangible, emotional way, of course, because he just didn't know that. So I learned about love through my mother. So I chose my parents well, because even though Dad pushed at me my whole growing up life, you know, because he couldn't understand me. I'm in the beautiful Technicolor world. He's in the black and white box, you know, and I don't say that with judgment, that's just the way it was. And so, but he was my main teacher of getting me to dig my heels in and just stand and refuse to become what he could understand. You know? And I tried to get him to understand me a bit more, but that just wasn't going to happen. So we kind of never really met on that level of full seeing, of him fully seeing me. But of course, he left years and years ago to go back into his expanded state of being, and he sees me fully now. He sees me fully the moment he was departing his body, you know. So we've had many times of just deep communion where I just smile, you know. I mean, one of the first things I said to him after he passed was, well, Dad, can you see what I've been saying all these years now, you know? So I just felt this big smile from him. So, you know, so yeah, so it was a big childhood. But, you know, like you, Mandy, and like us all, we haven't had easy lives here. There's been nothing really easy about our life. It's been a roller coaster right from the word go, you know. But I kind of look on that as that was our preparation time for now. We had to go through everything so that we could stand in our clarity of now and help all those that are coming out of the dream, out of their programming and waking up. So, you know, there's so much that we can support them with through our own deep experiential knowing.
Absolutely. And, you know, I used to sort of think and feel quite sort of like, oh, we just need to get rid of all the story. Like, honestly, the stories, just, you know, everyone's in story, but it's the story of the experiencing that we've had that actually resonates. You know, people connect to that. So, you know, when we're sharing an experience, that it does help people to understand that they might be in that situation right now in that experience, but oh my goodness, if you did it and you got through it, you know, then maybe I can too.
Yeah.
So, you know, the story and the experience of what we've been through, or our journey here in this experience of human with family and relationships and all the stuff that goes with it, is so valuable and such, you know, it's such a treasure, honestly. And to share that is a treasure.
Absolutely. Totally, as you say, it can really support a person and what we're going through currently, to hear that, yes, we know exactly what you're talking about because we've been there ourselves. But there's a great difference between the story, the connected story of experience, of physical experience, tangible experience here, and the stories that are conceptual, that we haven't actually experienced, but we've heard through the Chinese whispers and you know, and all that, and those type of stories that we can embellish and we can exaggerate on because of so much that's going on within ourselves at the time, you know, wanting to be liked, wanting to fit in, wanting to be part of a group that, you know, that you feel like you're welcomed in. There's just so many reasons that we become part of those stories. And that's the type of story that the outside world is founded on now. These stories deliberately created to draw us out of ourselves and into a mindset that's based in fear. And so totally different series of stories for sure.
Yeah. And the biggest in all of that right now is the biggest thing is discernment, you know, actually really feeling into the body when you hear some of these stories, and you might be seeing something on YouTube, you know, that somebody's put together, and it could be completely untrue. And we really need to feel and hear. Like I've just, you know, put something up for sale, and I had this person connect quite quickly after I put it up, and I instantly, my body instantly, my body, before the message even arrived, was telling me there was something coming and to pay attention. Sure enough, this message popped in, and I just knew this was what my body was talking about and indicating. So I just played it along, but it was a scam. And they were wanting to get, more money out of me and all of that. But it was very interesting. And it's happening everywhere, like with everything we need to really discern and feel into the body as to what the body's energetics are telling you about that story, that information, because it knows. It'll give you the truth, the heart, the body itself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been taught through this lifetime and so many lifetimes before that the mind is the powerful part of us, and like that's deliberate programming, because that's where the programming is held. That is that programmed part of ourselves, is that small mind part that keeps us contained and keeps us in limitation. And discerning is us discerning now is one of our tools coming back online, one of our innate gifts, one of the parts of our natural nature, our true nature.
Yeah.
So how else can we hone our discernment skills when we haven't used them for so long? How else but to be presented with scenarios, with experiences where we need to discern to know what's right and what is not. So I totally agree with you, Mandy. The world is absolutely swimming in scams now. And the untruth that we've always lived in, that we're realizing now is untruth, is bubbling to the surface in a way that has never happened before. But that's because we're learning to step back a bit. We've got eyes open, heart open, and we are learning to feel our way forward. And that's where our discernment is in our feeling. And as you said before, it's all about the body. It's not about the mind, it's now about the body, because the body heart awareness is where that greater part of us comes in and feels the space that it's in, that feels the moment. And that's who we are, beyond all our words, beyond all our thoughts, our inner dialogue, our emotions. There is awareness, the one that's watching, the one that's feeling all that's going on for us. That is our true nature.
It is. And I love, this lifetime, actually having the clarity, having the understanding of how this is working, I think is such a gift for us. Like, we actually know this lifetime. We're actually getting it. We're getting that this is what this is, this big illusion, this dream we've all been playing in. And yes, it can be a bit frightening when when you're first exposed to that, because it's like, hang on a minute, like there's such a huge shift that has to happen in the body. But those experiences are integrated into the body throughout our life. And it's not until we go into the body to retrieve those and deal with the emotion that changes our whole perception of everything that's going on. And with this, when you were saying before about your childhood and those who didn't understand, and I so get this, when they do move on into those other arenas, into that expanded awareness and things, when they leave this physical realm, the understanding, you can feel it. You just know they know now. It's like, and they did already, but of course their human self wasn't quite on board with that. But there's such a beauty in that. And I know with both my parents, mum always did, but dad sort of was a wee bit behind the the knowing. But when he passed, it was that exact thing. It was like, oh my God, he gets it now. He knows. And it's such a gorgeous feeling. But where I was going is, when could you, like, you were aware of your observer, and yet Janine had to play out what Janine had to play out. Was that frustrating for you? Because I know it was for me.
Oh, at times it was hugely frustrating, especially in my first 19 years of my life, because I had no role model. I had nobody supporting me. I was, if you like, I had a foot in both camps. So, you know, I could easily move into the realms to play with some beautiful, beautiful beings and be taught and learn from some incredibly benevolent, beautiful ones. And then, of course, here I am with a foot in this very dense third dimensional reality where you've got to be here, you've got to be present, or things happen, like accidents happen if you're not present in your body. And you know, often in the class I'd get a massive big chalk thrown at my head or a dust or something by the teacher because I'd wander off, because I never fitted any of the areas of society, you know. So even school was just, I was a square peg in a round hole, you know. But so yes, it was difficult for the first 19 years, and then I got the opportunity to step into a group that had the higher knowing, that knew all about all the other entities, if you like, you know. And I felt like for the first time in my life I'd come home. I was with people who saw me because they were right there and knew themselves. And it was like, I'll never forget my first evening with this group. And just, I could feel the fit. I'd never felt that before in my life. So I could feel the smoothness, the integration, well, you know, now I'd say it was the love in the room, but right then it was like there was no sharp edges, there was no resistance, there was nothing like that I'd had all my life. And I was with that group for many years, and we were all young parents. Well, a few years later, we were all young parents, and we grew up together in that group with higher wisdom coming in to help us with our children, with our early lives and marriages, and you know, so it was really, 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 truly a blessing. So it's
beautiful.
It is. It's an interesting journey when I look back.
It's interesting. You know, like for me, when you're talking about that group and coming into that group and the smoothness and the gentle, it's acceptance, eh? It's being accepted totally, fully for who you are, and there's no judgment in the room of each other, and it's a beautiful place. We were just at a gathering the other weekend, and one of the ladies that was there, who I just so connected, we just really connected first up, but she hadn't done any of this type of thing. Like this was her very first introduction to something spiritual in a sense and energetic, and I said, are you enjoying it? She said, it's just so lovely. There's no judgment. Like she got it. She was just right there with that. And I just sunk into that. It was like, yes, that's so what this is and what we are, you know, when we come into that space. It's beautiful. And we're so judged throughout life all the time.
Don't you feel that? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Don't you feel that in your heart as when you just said, and there was no judgment? It's like my heart just opens. That is so heart-centered.
Yeah.
There is no judgment, you know? So, sorry. I just felt such a feeling as you said that. It's like, oh, yes.
Me too. When she said it, it was that reminder of, yes, that's part of the biggest thing I think that people feel, those who are awakening when they come into somebody's room like ours, say that they can be who they are. There is no judgment. We've, you know, often sitting with clients, you know, they're experiencing something that I might have already been through years ago and have worked my way through it. So there's an understanding, like we were saying before, of that with each other. And for them to, like, how could I judge somebody in that space? How could I sit there judging them when I've actually already gone through that myself? Why would I judge them? You know, so there is this beautiful acceptance of everybody's journey and compassion for them when they're in that space as well, you know. And I think a lot of the time that we're spending out there in the world today, I'm seeing very much a lack of compassion, and everyone's angry, everyone's firing all this hated each other and, you know, just want to have a go even online on a comment. You know, it's like you really are getting bombarded now with that sort of energy all the time. It's and it can be, you know, as we know, I mean, it is very damaging. A lot of people are feeling it.
People are in fear at the moment. So many people are in fear. And that's where the judgment comes from. And people will realise as they awaken to themselves that anytime they project that judgment out onto another, that they're actually judging themselves. You know, because I often say to people, how would you ever recognise what you were judging for in that other person if it wasn't already in you? You know, there's been no recognition, you know. And, you know, we've been through lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of so many different lives that we've been that person at some stage. In some life, we've played that role that the person's in that we're judging. So how, from that point of view too, from the greater point of view, how can we judge who we've been ourselves, as you were saying, from this lifetime as well? So, but that comes as we come inward and we get to know ourselves more and understand where that judgment's coming from and what that judgment's actually saying to us. So anytime we catch ourselves judging somebody else, then we know at that stage of our awareness, so, okay, what's this judgment about? Come in here and let's feel in myself and see, where is that coming from? Okay, I remember when I was younger, mummy or dad used to always say that type of thing to me and how it made me feel. So there's the opportunity for a little bit of healing. And it's not like we have to do a lot now in healing these pieces. It's more the recognition, the owning of it in ourselves and the recognition of what we're feeling. And then it's just being gentle and easy with it, because love, our innate love, comes in then and transmutes it back into our heart as light, rather than that heavy, deep wound or, you know, pain that we've been carrying. At the end, transmutes back into light. So, you know, we are doing ourselves a favour every time we own it, come in and we own it and recognise it for what it is. So judgment actually is a really good teacher, you know. Once we get the
it is. It so is. But yeah, it's there's so much changing on such like rapid speed in this time now, and it's, you know, I was just saying to a friend this morning, you know, for me it feels like something's brewing. It's like you can feel this, you know, I don't know, it's like a bubbling underneath that's sort of like brewing up, ready to just. And it's moving faster and faster. It's like the brewing's getting quicker. It's bubbling away a lot faster now. And I mean, for me, you know me, and my huckers, bring it on, you know, just yay, let's do this. Like, I love it. So I get really excited when I know others are sitting in fear, and it's too much sometimes, but I do love it. And I just, the thing for me though, Janine, and this is something it'd be lovely to share with you, because I ponder this a lot, in that, you know, we came, as we know, we came into this form to experience our spirit, our soul essence in this form, so we can do more than we can as in spirit, if we go back to our essence. So it's an actioning thing. It's a physical reality that we know, right? So the more we awaken ourselves to who we really are, and we bring that essence in more and more, and we're anchoring it into our form, then what? Okay, so what I mean by that is that we come into this form, we're now really embodying our ability, capabilities, our magic, our yummy stuff, you know, all the goodies. And a lot of that is around being. You know, when we sit in being and we sit in that silence and that stillness, we can feel that, we embody it, we're it. And then we've got the doing part that's all out there, and we move around and we do our thing, whatever that is. And that tends to, as we know, take us out of that space more and more, because we're actioning and we're moving, and we're not so much in that silent space until, of course, not saying that's not possible, until we are walking that space, which many of us are doing now. We're walking that meditative silent stillness within us every day, every second. So when we are in our full magic, our full abilities, we won't need the vehicles, because we'll think UK and we'll be there. We won't need to, we'll physically transport ourselves, is what I see. And we're not going to require a lot of the technology that, and this for me is something that I know we get a little afraid of in many ways. Many people are saying this is going to take us away from self, and I get that. We are moving more into that technical side of ourselves too, though. So we are part of all of that system as such, in the sense of our AI, our own, super intelligence, etc. But it's like, how is it going to be? Like, when we're fully embodied in that, is there still going to be an essence of self that isn't here, that has still that experience? I mean, I get that is how it is, but in the sense of our ability here, do you understand what I'm trying to say? I know it sounds like I'm going round and round, but it's like we will be doing everything in this physical form that we do in spirit as such, and walk through walls maybe, because we know they're actually not solid. So there's a lot of things that are going to really change, and I sort of feel like I can't quite get how we're going to work in that.
Okay. I was just getting so much vision as you were sharing there, and it's
Crazy.
Yeah. It's just, it was so beautiful what I was getting as you were talking. So at the moment, our source connection, if we look at a hose, at the moment our source connection is half or nearly 2/3 cut off. So the hose has actually got a foot on it, if you like, and there's only a certain amount of that source connection coming into us. So what's happening in the awakening now is the hose is becoming vibrant again. It's becoming full again. So our source connection's coming in more and more and more. And this is the energy. This is the light. This is our truth pouring into us at the moment. Of course, it has to come in slowly, because we would never be able to handle all of who we are until we're ready to. So we have to have the awareness of the aha moments and the realizations, droplet by droplet by droplet, we're filling ourselves up. So what the future looks like, it's something to feel and have inner vision on, rather than because it'll just be conceptual otherwise. So imagine this, Mandy. Imagine that you're not as dense as you are now. You are so much more etherical, you're lighter, your vibration is evanescence. It's like golden, tiny golden bubbles of frequency. You still have a beautiful human form. You still look at it just as you do now, but you're finer, you're clearer, you're more connected. You know yourself as the center of your creation here, and that everything around you in your world is a part of your creation. So you go for a walk in nature as you do now, and you may feel the texture of the leaf as you would now, but in your true form, when you're fully embodied here, you will become that leaf. You will experience that leaf. You'll become the tree. You'll become the blade of grass, because it's all you, every part. You will know yourself as the wave upon the ocean, rising up and then falling again into the ocean. So you'll know yourself as one, but you're individual within that one. You're having an individual experience within the oneness. So we still will be connected. Of course, we are soul, we are source. So we'll have our full running, flowing connection, but there's so much more of us embodied here. So imagine being in a world where you know yourself absolutely as the creator of that world. What could you do with that? You know? And this is the world that we will eventually be in. We will be back in, because we were originally in this world. This was us. Before that part was turned off to us. That's where, and we're coming back online, we're coming back home into that world. But of course, that's a few generations, quite a few generations away, and we've got to go through the steps to get back there. And one of those steps has to do with technology and all the new technologies that are coming out now. And there is benevolent technologies and there is malevolent technologies. And once again, our discerning skills are going to be absolutely needed to be mastered because of what's going to be presented to us and be brought out over the next, especially the next few years. So because those of the opposition are wanting us, they're wanting to draw our essence into those AIs. So they are wanting us as those AIs. This is the transhumanism that's going on here. And those of us that have our discernment skills finally tuning now, we realize which ones that we're having our identity taken with through the internet, and which ones, and what to do and what not to do, and stand back. And that's all, of course, to do with the warning that we get inside our gut. So yeah, we've got a few years to go. We've got a few generations to go before we get to the vision that I've just shared. But the wonderful thing is that it's just going to get better and better and better and better all the way through. We're doing the deepest, heaviest hard yards right now. And look at us. And here we are, and we're smiling, and we can still find our laughter, and and it's about, don't get caught up out there. Out there is the illusion. Don't get caught up in it. That's really all it is. And if we choose to get caught up in it, we're choosing an experience we don't need to have.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, I get the essence part and the part that we come into, and I get that, and it's beautiful, and I can't, like, I get that point, and I get that, like, I sort of think, oh God, I can't wait. But what for me, I think what I'm trying to say is that our form will be very different to this. I don't feel it being so physical, because it's not going to be so dense, and I get that. But I think what I'm trying to say is the experiencing is going to be quite different, because we're going to be, like, just a thought is going to take us instantly into that experience. If we think, I wonder what this might feel like next minute, you're just going to be instantaneously there and not actually go through, it's like, we're not going to experience things the same as what we are now. And I think what I'm feeling is that a lot of people are missing this bit now.
Yeah.
Wanting to jump into that, wish this would hurry up, it's not comfortable, I don't like it, and I wish it would just hurry up and we can get to that beautiful picture we have that's coming. We know this. But the other part to that for me is that I feel like we're going to miss, maybe not miss out, but it feels like that. The experiencing will be very different. This has got tangible change to it. Whereas when we move to that beautiful picture that we know is coming and that we are really embodying now, I can feel that, I can be one with the leaf and the tree and, all of that stuff already. But I know that will deepen and it'll be more, deeper. But for me, I feel like this experience we have now in learning about this physical form and learning that this is what we're here doing, and understanding that, when you pull yourself out of the system and you look at it from there and you go, oh my gosh, this is where we've been all this time, and now we're moving out of that, even we're unplugging. It's a beautiful thing. And I feel sort of saddened sometimes that I when I see the world in the way that it is, I get it, and I know that we have to go through this, and it's a beautiful thing. But those who don't understand it are missing this awesome experience that we're having in this form with that awareness. And that saddens me for a lot of people. I feel it doesn't take me into that space as such, but I can say that it sort of saddens me in the sense that they're missing out on such an experience, or the awareness of the experience, and holding on so much to this. So this is so uncomfortable, yet why am I still here, and how can I get out? They don't know how to get out. And all of that will turn, I get it, but I can't quite explain what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's around that. I feel there's such a disrespect for the body, such a disrespect for the life itself, and the honor of being here at this time on the planet and in this form is just huge for me. But so many people don't get that, and it's quite sad. I think if they did understand, and as we know, more and more are coming into that understanding, it changes the experience for sure.
Absolutely.
And accept it a lot better.
Well, that's where the likes of us come in, because we are the examples. So it's not about giving advice when people come to us, as much as it is living the example, so that people can see and feel for themselves. And then there's inquiry that goes on deep within them. You know, what am I feeling with that person? You know, how do I feel around that person? Wow. And then something's ignited in them. Like I would say to everybody that watches this video today, how could you ever get to what you're waiting for if you don't come inward and do the work on yourself? Because where you're vibrating right now in this dense reality, where you've had to vibrate to survive, is in no way a match to the new world that's forming now. So to be part of that new world, you have to raise your frequency up. And that is birthing your new world into being, because the outside becomes a reflection of that heightening vibration within you. So if you want to be a part of it, then come on in and learn about yourself. Come on in and start observing who you are, your reactions, your responses, you know, and be with yourself. So rather than be outside of yourself, pulled out into the world, into the conversations, into the actions, into the stories, just stop, step back. Take a breath and just be with yourself. That's where the silence comes in more and more. Just be with yourself and how you're feeling, and always bring it back to that. How am I feeling in this moment? Like, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing there, or I love what I'm seeing there. How am I feeling? How does that make me feel to see what I don't like, to see what I love? You know, just own it all in yourself, because this is us getting to know ourselves from a being rather than a doing perspective, you know, and that's how we are changing this reality. Because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational field. That is this entire reality. So when we change our vibration, when our frequency rises, we alter the field, and everything starts to shift, morph, change around us. This is how we are removing the dark from this reality. Our light is becoming so brilliant now that, you know, as when a light's switched on in a dark room, there is no dark. So this is what we're doing now. We're cleansing out all the remnants of the dark from this reality. We are taking back our world, you know, our natural world. We're taking it all back now.
Yeah. And in teaching the numerology that I teach, which was gifted from Creator for me, came through, there's the 13 codes of ascension, and the first code which has taken eons and eons of light years for us to traverse through all of these. But the very first one was we were one with everything and everything was one with us.
Absolutely.
Then things started happening, dimensions were created, so therefore it started creating space, so all these different things. It was so awesome the way it's all rolled out, and we've gone through all of this together. So wonderful. I love it. And now we're on the 13th code, which is coming back to one with everything and everything one with us. So it's a beautiful cycle that we've been through. And now, like when you look at and you can feel, like I was saying, this something bubbling away there. It's us growing more and more and more in our own divine self and anchoring that in and walking that here on this earth. And that's an exciting thing. Like, I love how quickly things are shifting. Like, as soon as you put thought to something, it turns out like instantly. What used to be, to take like, a year to create something into being and physically bring it into this physical reality. And now we're moving so close to the dimensional. I used to understand that the 6th dimension was where we created into the physical to be brought into the physical as such. And so we're now so close to that realm and that dimensional space now that it's so fast and bringing it in, like we already are that in a sense. And so creating into this world now is so quick. And I feel, again, there's that feeling for those who don't understand that they are creating their world, and that how easy it is to turn it from this that you really don't want into this that you really do want, and this desire of the passion we have in creating it into form. And it's such a magical thing when you get it. It's so magical. I love it.
So we have operated from the small programmed mind for thousands of years. And what's happening there, and that's why it's taken so long once we started to realize that we were creating with our thoughts. It took so long to bring anything into manifestation that we were trying to create, because we would be putting it out from the small programmed mind, and then we'd be in our own way with our doubts, with our impatience, with so many aspects of ourselves. So on one hand, we're pulling towards us from the field, from the creational field, and with the other hand, we're pushing back again with doubts and that. So, talk about a quandary. But for those that are stepping out of the program now, they're releasing from the small mind, and they're now operating from the quantum mind. The quantum mind has an unlimited depth and width to it. So when we pop our awareness into there, in what we would call a creational thought, it's just about instant now, so there's the difference between the waiting for ages and the instant manifestation, and it's going to become even more rapid. You mentioned before, Mandy, about how rapid our growth is now and our coming back online, and that shows me, because I'm witnessing that too, of course, and that shows me that we're gaining in our natural power and our natural abilities. We're anchoring more light here. We are embodying more pure love here, so we can take it more rapidly. It's like the foot on the hose is being let off faster and faster and faster. And I would say to you, the sadness that you hold for those that don't appear to be getting it, we're all on that wave, and we're all moving in that direction, those that have chosen to, and there's a heck of a lot more chosen to move on that awakening wave in this lifetime than have even woken up yet. But we are doing it at our own rate. So we're all just moving along in our own pace and our own living with our own choices and our opening awareness. So yeah, it will look like some are on the fringe of getting it, some aren't getting it at all, some they're getting it, but now they're learning to turn their outward gaze at what's happening in the world to an inward focus and what's actually going on inside themselves. So we're all, as I said earlier, we're all one source, but we're all individual expressions of that one source. So we're doing it all in our own way, you know.
We are.
It's probably, I would have to say, it's the most incredible lifetime for me, you know, and being witness to everybody's personal journey that I've come across. It's crossed my path and where they're at and their knowing of life. And what I love more than anything is that if somebody comes to me, you know, in a session one-on-one, and they are fairly in the dark, so to speak, as to their own light, and then we have a conversation, and I see that spark in their, like that spark, yeah, you know exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, we've got another one, creator, another one's on board, you know. And because once you've got that, there's no turning back. It's just, you may go into a million questions for the next few months. It's like you bombard yourself with wanting to know everything, but then you settle down and you come into that alignment where you realize that, okay, I can't keep seeking out there with my questions. It's now about coming in here and feeling for myself, because this is where the growth, the rapid growth is. It's coming back to ourselves, you know. So it's a fabulous life. It's a fabulous experience here this time around.
It is. It's so much fun. Like if you don't pay attention, and sure enough, we all have to pay a bit of attention to what's going on and check out where it is within us and what our connection to it is, you know, and do whatever it might be that you need to do to transmute or move or whatever that. If it's something that you're not interested in or liking or whatever it might be, that's not in resonance. But when you don't pay attention, when you've done enough of that and you've unplugged enough and you're really in your space to just be creating, you know, we are creative. We are creative energy. We are that. We are creator, walking here, experiencing, creating into physical form. We're changing, turning love into matter, really, aren't we? You know, so for me, that's just such a magical thing, and I absolutely love it. I love when something just shows up that I've been creating into, and oh my gosh, it's such a cool feeling. And you just feel like in that knowing of ourselves when we were younger, you know, having that awareness, but yet having to walk that human childhood path, and knowing that you're just bound to that until you're not, you know, it was like, you know, twiddling thumbs a wee bit and tapping, waiting, and also having to navigate, because you're not just sort of waiting, you are in it and experiencing it and going through all that. But for me, I felt like I just didn't fit. Like you're saying, you were, you know, square peg in a round hole. It was like we just didn't fit a lot of what was going on. And once all of this bigger picture started really showing up and being in our face, the way it has been over the last few, it's that I realized in there, which I knew anyway, but that really cemented it for me, was that this that I knew as a child was why I didn't fit, because it wasn't meant to be the place I was meant to fit. And many, many, many of us have found that was when we looked at it, you know, pulled out more and looked into it, it was like, no wonder I never fitted there. That system does not work for me. And so many are coming to that place, which is wonderful. And then it's conquering the fear of moving yourself out of that, because then you become the outsider You're not in that main narrative. You're not following the you know, I won't call them sheep, because people, I feel like that's a very derogatory of us. And also I'm finding a lot of those who are sitting maybe on the fences, you know, it really, really, really take offense to being told to wake up. As far as they're concerned, they're awake, they're looking, they're seeing, they're feeling what they know, and they might not follow the same pathway that we might go, but to them, they're awake to what is in their world. And so I've, you know, I sort of cringe a little when I hear people say that, and pointing at somebody in direct saying, but it's oh gosh, there's just so much going on, Janine. Like, you know, it's you know, we really have to take time out and come back to just being, sitting in some silence and just allowing to integrate what we've just been. Even when you go out and do grocery shopping, there's so much energetically that's happening out there that sometimes it really hits you hard, and other days it's like it's just this beautiful bouncing, you know, of everything around you that's not actually penetrating. And other days it might penetrate and you come home, you're so drained, and it's like, oh my God, it just, you know.
It always depends where we are in ourselves, you know, how our world is, you know, and like you said before, it's about stopping. So that's exactly what it is. It's about the only way we can connect in with our true nature is away from the chaos and noise of the world. And that's designed, the world's designed to be busy, to have us in busy doing, to keep us in disconnection from our true
distracted. Yeah.
So in the spaces in our life, in the quietness, in the stillness, in the gaps between our thoughts, in those pauses between words, every one of those is where we'll meet ourselves. If we're given the opportunity, it's up to us to take a breath and be in that space or in that gap, you know, to realize the space, to realize the gap, to be in awareness of in the stillness in the moment, to create those spaces more and more and more in our life, because those parts feed us deeply. The rest doesn't. And I would say to people now, stop living the script. Stop living the script of what you were taught by your parents and your peers in your youth, because that's all it is a script. Stop attaching to that character in the play. On the screen of life, that character is not the truth of you. You are the awareness watching that character on the screen. It's all a movie. Truly, it's all a movie. We are not the version of ourselves that we were when we were young. We have gone through many versions of ourselves since that young person. We are so vastly different now. So why would we allow those pieces way back then to keep on affecting us and who we are now? Let it go. The past is all completely dissolving. So let those pieces go and let them dissolve with the past. And the future is not formed. So we only have the now, the present moment experience. And us as our awareness, our true nature, is presence, and only is ever found in this now moment, which is in the quiet, the stillness, the space, the gap. So beautiful too, it's actually that simple. It's actually simple. We just need to step back from this chaotic world. And as you said before, yes, it's not about denying what's going on out there, but that's happening for a reason. It's happening to get us to go inside ourselves. We wouldn't do it otherwise. Without the world turning inside out and upside down at this stage, we would not be on this journey. The masses wouldn't be on this journey. You and me have been on this journey our entire life, but the masses, no derogatory element meant here, but they wouldn't. They'd be still carrying on with their lives the same. So it's a blessing, actually, to have the world tipping inside out and upside down now, because it's waking, it's opening, it's giving the opportunity for every one of us to come into our deep knowing, our pure truth.
Yes.
That we are.
Yeah, beautiful way. And I, you know, we have these waves, don't we? You know, we sort of tend to ride through these waves of energetic bursts that really bring up and trigger something within. And just recently there's been quite a wave, I felt, and it triggered stuff, and I had massive pain in the back of my heart center. You know, not for long, but for a moment, until I actually went in and cleared that. You know, what is that? And yes, it's some old stuff that just reared up again. You think, gosh, you know, here it is again. but it helps every time we move it. We're moving something. It might take a few times of those waves to bring it up again for us, but each time we're whittling it away and transmuting it and moving through it. There was something else that I was going to say in that, and it's just gone, as these things do today, don't they? We get into a sentence and then next minute it's blank.
I know.
It's so weird, but it's great. I giggle.
Because memory's going too. Memory
is.
You know, we don't need memory.
No.
We don't need memory of a second ago, because this is us coming into presence right now, here, right now, this breath. That's really all that reality is. We're learning to come back into that still point here where everything is. And it's pure action as well as its stillness right here.
It is. It's beautiful, eh? Like, you can create anything from just absolutely sitting in that silence. You don't have to action anything other than just that. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Yes.
And the 12th code within the 13 codes, the 12th was that we were learning to create, but by default. So we were unaware that we were consciously, all of us together, co-creating our reality and our realities, which molded and blended all into one big, which we're seeing now that we pull away from, and seeing that was the way that we created by default. So now we're coming back into the awareness of ourselves as creator beings, and that, oh my gosh, we created all that. Well, now I'm really willing to change that. You know, that part is the part that's so exciting. Again, we talk about the same thing. It's so exciting. Because of that, more and more people now are definitely coming into their own authentic creatorship. And it's exciting to see what people are actually creating into form and into being here now. You know, more and more are expanding that vision and their lives. And there was a time, you know, still I see many that aren't, but that's because they were stunned with the lockdown and the stuff that's been going on, and the fear that's created them just possum in headlights, really. You know, they're just still sitting in that sort of stunned space and not trusting now, where is this world going? I don't see where I can create, and why what's the point? Like, many of the teenagers today are deciding they'll never have children. You know, why would I want to? Why would I want to bring a child into this world? And that again is a point of sadness for me. I think, gosh, you know, but it's the level of understanding. And who they are now is vastly different to who they'll be in just a few years' time. Yes, for sure, sure.
Yeah.
And that, I just send love, and, you know, I mean, that's what you do. You just accept where people are and show compassion, really. But
absolutely. You know, we're conscious, we're becoming conscious creators rather than unconscious creators. And I also have another name for us. You've probably heard me say it before. I also call us Imagineers, because we've always been taught that our imagination is not reality, is fantasy, is pulls us away from reality. It's so completely the opposite.
Opposite, it is.
Our imagination is such a powerful, powerful part of us, a creative part of us. Takes us into all the different realms and realities, and helps our creating right here. So I encourage imagination. It's a natural part of us.
It is. It so is. And I think too, you know, like I've witnessed many times the young ones with their gaming, you know, sitting online. We were outside climbing trees, you know, building huts, and just doing all the stuff that we did when we were kids. And many still do that. There's a lot of families that actually create that for their children too, or encourage them. And now there's a lot of kindies and play centres that are bush, you know, oriented, where they take them into the bush for their learning day, you know, rather than in the building. Even on wet days, like gumboots and, you know, wet coats on. It was so cool. But that space where, you know, yeah, it's when it's not like that, and people haven't got that awareness again. But it's changing. It's definitely changing.
All those children that sit in front of their computer games, they're being programmed. Every one of those games is a program for their open sponge minds, just soaking it all up.
Yeah. And I think there's a time, you know, I know with my grandson, you know, he's very, very much the gamer, and it bothered me a lot when he was little. But he's and I think just through intention, prayer, you know, just that, holding him in that space, really, I suppose, he's now pulling more and more away from that, which is wonderful.
Yes.
And it's changed his whole character too in many ways by getting out and about and being him rather than sitting there, you know. So yeah, it's a sad thing, because the imagination wasn't being used for sure.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's shutting down. So yeah, but such wonderful stuff, Janine. And you know, it's just such an honor to be walking this path and this planet with you, and many others that are, you know, our soul families, of course. And you know, this is something that I love seeing also right now, is lots and lots of soul tribes coming together, you know. So those who have really been paying attention to the inner vibe are finding that they're connecting now with many other new beautiful souls that have come into their, you know, their field. And it's exciting in that when I feel into those spaces, when I'm with those ones, you know, it's a dynamic feeling. It's so dynamic, and you just know that if we put our intention towards something, man, it was just going to be boom. So dynamic. So yeah, that's
open hearts always find each other, always.
Yeah, you know? They do. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Janine, thank you so much. Is there any final word that you might want to put out there to everybody, or
just ask yourself, lovely viewers that are here, that will be watching this, who are you really? Beyond your name, beyond your life as it is now, beyond all your skills and abilities physically, who are you really? When you let go your doubt, when you step back from all your fear, when you come into that quiet moment of self-reflection, who is the one that's observing all that action, all those thoughts, all that doing, all that fear, all that doubt? Who is the one that's observing all that? Because that is your true nature. That is who you are.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, so beautiful, Janine. Thank you.
Thanks. And love to everybody that will watch this, and even those that never do, I send love.
Beautiful. Much love to you, darling heart.
Thank you.